Imagine a future where self-custody of Bitcoin is outlawed. Custodial exchanges are now the only approved option, and holding your own keys is suddenly illegal. What do you do? Well, enter SeedSigner, a do-it-yourself Bitcoin security device you can assemble anonymously with off-the-shelf parts, ensuring you are ready to safeguard your Bitcoin when hardware wallets are banned. Today, we're going to learn how to assemble and use a SeedSigner device so that you have the skills to remain sovereign if the unimaginable comes to pass. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session. As stated before, the SeedSigner is a do-it-yourself signing device for Bitcoin self-custody. It allows you to create and use Bitcoin wallets. What I'm referring to there is your private keys, and you can do so completely offline. The project itself, it's fully open source and community driven, and it allows you to build from cheap, easily sourced computer parts. The device itself is known as a system called stateless, which means that when you create a set of private keys on the device, they're not actually retained on the device when you power it down. You export them physically, often in the form of a QR code or 12 to 24 words. And every time you want to spend from your Bitcoin wallet, you would either scan the QR code or manually put in the words. So this ends up being more ideal for what's known as a watch-only wallet for individuals that are consistently maybe adding to their savings. So you can easily send into the wallet without requiring any special steps. But when you do want to spend, you're going to either be scanning a QR code or putting in your words, but you want to keep those safe somewhere. So you don't want to be accessing those regularly, which is why I say a watch only where you're building savings, but not spending often. Now, there are some privacy benefits, of course, to using something like SeedSigner in that there's no Bitcoin device shipments coming to you and anything associated with your name because the generic parts give you plausible deniability. Now, in terms of prerequisites, what are you going to need in order to successfully navigate this tutorial? Well, we're primarily going to be taking a look at using the SeedSigner with Sparrow wallet. So you're going to want that for desktop. I have a full in-depth tutorial in the show notes that you can check out if you're unfamiliar and want to get acquainted. We're also going to be using something called Balena Etcher. This will just allow us to get the SeedSigner software and put it on the device. In terms of the actual parts, I'll have links for everything you're going to need to either get the individual parts or get a pre-assembled kit or somewhere in between. There are options there. So if you're just looking to learn, you can get the thing, buy it from a third party and have it shipped to you. But again, keep in mind the privacy aspect of it if that is super important versus just doing some learning. And there will also be a few things to kind of download and in terms of being able to create your QR codes, you can order some card stock for that, or you can simply print some files off of their GitHub. We'll go through all of that when we need to. And finally, the device that I'm building today is actually kind of the latest updated, larger version of the SeedSigner. If you've been watching the channel prior and seen some other videos, I have done videos on different form factors for the SeedSigner, namely a smaller one. So if you're curious about those, check the show notes down below. There is a smaller version of the SeedSigner that you can also build, but we're going to be checking out this brand new large one. Either way, everything you need is down below, and let's dive in and take a look at the parts that I have for my SeedSigner kit now. All right, so I bought this as a kit that you can assemble yourself, but it contains all of the parts that one would need. So just really quick going through what it came with and what you would need. So these are custom boards that, of course, have the screen and the buttons on them. This is a Raspberry Pi Zero. There's also an attachment. This is the camera, the webcam attachment that goes on here. This is an extender for the micro SD card slot right here. And it's just for the larger enclosure that we're going to use in the larger front face. Would not be necessary for the smaller form factor. We have a cable. This is USB-A to USB-C. If you've used the old or the smaller version of the SeedSigner, these of course are micro USB ports, USB ports. Whereas when you're using the larger screen, it actually has an attachment, so it has a USB-C, which is convenient because I have a lot of USB-C, not as many of the micro USB. We've got an SD card here. This is just an 8 gigabyte micro SD card. And then we've got the 3D printed case, and inside there's the 3D printed buttons that will come through, as well as like a little shim to help with the assembly here. And then finally, I've got these QR codes that you also put your seed words on the other side. And so what these are for is when you create your seeds, you'll be able to scan them with the device so that you can use them as a wallet. Now, these are printed and sent, but you can also go online and get files and be able to print these at home as well. So these are all the things that came with the kit. All of this, I believe you'll be able to fully assemble yourself. If you have 3D printers, you'll be able to print enclosures as well, but the buttons still do work without the enclosure. So this is everything. What we're going to do before we do any assembly though, is we're going to get the software onto this micro SD card, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. I will be plugging this into my laptop and putting the software on here. And so you'll just need some sort of, if you don't have an SD slot on your computer, you'll just need some sort of a dongle to be able to plug it in and access it. So let's jump to the computer and get our SeedSigner software going. All right, so here I am on my computer, and we're going to be downloading the latest release of the SeedSigner software. And so I'm on seedsigner.com. Very important that you check that you are using the correct URL there. So seedsigner.com. And on the main page, there's something that says download the latest release. When you click that, it will open up their GitHub page with the latest download release. You'll be able to see the project name in the top left and make sure you're in the right place. So you can scroll down a little bit. There's going to be a few files that you can download under assets. So you can see right here. And not only am I going to download the software, but I'm also going to verify it, meaning I'm going to verify that the contributors, that the people that are in charge of the project actually signed off on the release, that they indeed did create the file that I'm using. And so what I'm going to be downloading is where it says SeedSigner OS, and it'll be different numbers depending on what version you're currently on. So when it updates, these numbers will change. But I'm looking for the one that ends in pi0.img. So I'm going to click on that to download it. I'm also going to download the two files above it. So the signature and the TXT file. So click and click, and those both get downloaded. This helps me verify that the team indeed did sign off on this latest release. And so how am I going to do that? Well, let's go over to Sparrow Wallet on my computer. Again, I do have a full tutorial on Sparrow Wallet. This step that I'm doing right now of verification, I will say that, it's a good practice to do this. If you're very timid, you could do without, but I would say give it a try. You're already going to have Sparrow Wallet handy. You're already going to be on the same page. May as well download and verify as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Tools, and we're going to look for Verify Download. And then we're going to basically find those files that we downloaded. I'm going to go where it says Signature. I'm going to hit Browse. And I'm going to go to my Downloads folder. And I did download all the files here. So I'm just going to look for the one that ends in .sig right here. I'm going to hit open. And this will usually find everything else that I need, the manifest file and the release files, the software and the manifest of what's in it. But if it does not, you can hit browse and then look for the file that ends in .txt for the manifest. And then you can hit browse and find the release file, which ends in .img. And you should see some green check marks. And then you can hit close because it says, hey, this is ready to install. Good to go. Perfect. So we have everything that we need there. Sparrow Wallet tells us the release is good to go. We need to get this onto our SD card, and we're going to do that using something called Balena Etcher. And so on the website, it is Etcher, ETCHER .balena, BALENA.io. You can download this here and install it on your computer. I have already done so. So I'm going to go and open up the software with my SD card plugged into my computer. All right, so here is Balena Etcher on my computer, and I want to flash from a file. When I open it up, I have some options. So I'm going to click on Flash from File. I'm going to find the .img file that I downloaded right here. I'm going to hit Open. And then I'm going to select the disk that I want to put it on, which is this 8 gigabyte general SD card, micro SD card that I have. So I'll check mark that. And then I'm going to select it. And then I'm going to hit the flash button here. It may ask for your computer password, which I'll enter now. And then we can begin. So it's going to flash the software onto the device, and it will double check that everything has gone through well. We see green check marks. It is successfully completed. So that's perfect. I can close out of that, and I can eject that card from my computer and take it back over to my workstation and begin assembly of our SeedSigner. All right, so we're going to begin some assembly here, but I've taken away some of the things that I'm not going to concern myself with just yet. So I'm not going to need the enclosure just yet because we're going to make sure that the hardware is working. And I do have a USB-C cable here, a longer one that is plugged into power so that we can test everything here. So nonetheless, what I have is the main screen, the main board. I've also got the Raspberry Pi Zero. I've got the SD card, micro SD card extender. And then I've got the camera as well. And I've got our micro SD card that has the software on it. So first up, let's deal with just the Pi Zero and the camera, okay? So get everything else out of the way. What we're going to do is we need to connect the camera, and when the camera is facing up, the pins are also facing up. And on the side here, this little white tab, and I'll zoom in nice and close, but this little white strip here, there's actually a little, it's meant to affix the connector cable here, and it can be pulled open with just a thumbnail, but all you do is you just give it a little slide, and it doesn't come out very far, just a tiny bit, and same thing on the other side. Just like so. So it just comes out maybe like a millimeter, not very far. And then we're going to take the camera so that the shiny connectors are facing down towards the flat part of the board, okay? And then it's going to slide in to the allocated slot on the side of the board. So it'll look something like that as it goes in. And then to get a secure connection, you're going to push that little bar that you pulled out back in on both sides. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. And then our camera, it does have a little film on top of it. You can remove that. And then the last piece for now, there is some adhesive on the back of the camera so that you can kind of affix it. And so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do that now. I'm going to remove, there's like a little film on the back here. Okay. And with that off, I can swing it around and I'm going to affix it. I'm going to fix it on the back of the board here, especially while we're just kind of working with it here. I'll get it lined up and I'll show you roughly where it goes. All right, so pretty much straight across, it kind of cuts off this top line of text, and there's some numbers coming down the side here. So it's going to look something like that. Pretty flat. You're not trying to crease it or anything, but just pull it as far as it'll go straight across and just kind of push it down so it sticks in place for now. And hopefully that should line up with the enclosure later on. But for right now, we're just going to kind of leave it as is. Up next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to, where the micro SD card slot is, we're going to insert this little extender cable here. And so what you've got is you've got one side has, again, those little connectors, and those are going to face down so that it looks something like this. And you pretty much just kind of push it until it's all the way in and there's resistance. Okay, now we're dealing with something that looks a little bit like this. Up next, we're going to take this LCD screen. Again, there's a film on it, which you can go ahead and remove. And on the back of the board, there's kind of these female sockets, and the pins from the Raspberry Pi will go into those. They should line up perfectly. Kind of gently press together. I kind of have to do it one side and then bring them together like so. Okay, for a quick review with everything connected properly, we've got the front screen. When I face it up, you can see that all these pins are seated quite close. So, make sure that they've gone as far in as they can go. We've got the micro SD extender with the SD card inside. And of course, we've got the camera put in the side and adhesive to the back. And we're good to go with some testing now. And so we're going to take our USB-C, we're going to plug it into the bottom of the device and make sure all the buttons in the camera are functioning properly. Okay, so when you first plug in the device, it will be set for the smaller version. If you are using the larger screen, then you'll have this kind of band off to the side. So this is just a change of some settings to make the device aware what screen it's working with. Now, I do want to, before we move on and do those settings, I do want to say that I ran into an issue and I wasn't sure why the device wasn't turning on. It was actually the micro SD card extender wasn't pushed in far enough. So really with that extender, make sure that you give a good amount of push to get it all the way seated in there. If it's coming loose easily, then it's not all the way into the receptacle. So make sure that you make sure that it's solid and in the right place, and you should be able to get to the screen. So some general navigation, we've got 4 buttons on the outside here and then a middle button. This is your navigation, your up and down, your side to side, and then your select on the middle button there. And then you've got 3 buttons that are used whenever there's a selection over on the right-hand side of the screen, like a camera option. So what settings do we need to change right now in order to make sure that this works for the right screen? And again, you won't be using these settings if you are on the smaller version. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to go over to the side. I'm going to go into settings, and I want to first choose persistent settings, and I want to go up and choose enabled. So what this means is any settings that I change will remain the same every time I turn the device on, meaning the settings for the larger screen will remain. Okay, we'll go to the back arrow and we'll select it. And now we're going to go down to advanced. We have 2 things to select. So we'll choose advanced. And first thing, we'll scroll down and down and down. And we'll choose camera rotation. And we'll choose 0 degrees. And pick that one. We'll go back up. And we'll go back one, and we'll keep scrolling down until we see hardware. We'll select that, and then we'll choose display type. And we want the 320 by 240. That's what we're going to select. That looks much better. And so that setting will be retained. We'll go up to the top, back to the main screen, all the way back. There we go. Okay, so now let's just double check that everything's working fine. Okay, so we can once again go to settings, and we'll scroll down, and we're looking for IO test. We're going to select that. And this just shows us, we're going to press the buttons and make sure that the device sees that the button is being pressed correctly. Up looks good, side, down, side, middle button. All looks good. Okay, let's do the camera button. And so it should just, I think, just take a picture here. If I press it, and it did. So that works. We'll choose clear to clear the photo. That means that button's working fine. And if this exit button works fine, then everything is all good to go. So basically, everything is all set up, but we want to get it into our enclosure so it's nicer to utilize. So at this point, I can just disconnect the power, and we'll be able to now put it together into our 3D printed enclosure. Before putting it in the enclosure, we're actually going to disassemble part of it. We're going to, let's, for a moment, we'll pull out the SD extender. So we'll remove that. And then we're going to separate the screen from the device for a moment. So just carefully, just kind of pry up on either end. Not too much force. We don't want to bend any pins or anything or snap the screen, but bit by bit, you'll be able to gradually shimmy it out. Just being careful as you do. Perfect. We've pulled those apart, and let's go ahead and start putting this together again. Okay, so the bottom, this is going to be where the where the USB-C and your SD extender are. So that is the bottom of the device. Whereas this, the top, the pins are going to be near the top of the device. I haven't removed the camera. I haven't removed the connector, anything like that. It's just going to push down into here. And you don't just sit it there. You're actually going to kind of push it with your thumbs to snap it into place. So just in terms of how to seat this properly, what you'll notice is there's these two micro USB little ports here. And one of the ports actually has a recess that it can go into. So you kind of sit that in first and then push the top part down until it kind of snaps into place. There shouldn't be any give. It's solid in there at this point. Okay. Now here, we're going to make sure that our SD card extender is pushed once again all the way in as far as it can go. And you should see it change up here. You should notice as it goes all the way, you won't be able to see through these little dots there anymore. And then what we're going to do, this kind of, we're not going to crease it, but we're going to fold it over, and then we're going to fold it over again. And this is going to go into this piece here. And to help us do that, included in the print with our buttons, there's something to help kind of push it into place as we get it there. So you just kind of seat it in the 3D printed recess, and you can kind of push it down, and it should pretty much stay where it is. And we'll just kind of press so that the ribbon cable is out of the way so that we can then get our screen into place through the same way we did the female connectors with the male over here. We're going to press down into place. Okay, so I basically put that on the top, press down, and it seems to be in place. You'll see, you know, a little bit below here, so there's some clearance. And now all we have really are the buttons that will be here kind of poking through the top part of the enclosure and affixed like so. Okay, so finally we have the top part here. What we're going to do is we're going to take our two button pieces. The little notch on this is going to be the up, so it will look like so. And the little notches on this go to the outside so that you have some play. And you're basically just going to kind of have to tilt this so that they don't fall out, but you're going to kind of get it in place here, set it on top until it's in the right place, and then press down to lock it into place, hopefully somewhat gracefully. And there we go. That feels pretty decent there. Okay, and so I guess the last thing to do is just plug it in and make sure we didn't screw anything up, and we should be off to the races. So let's give it a try. Oh, one other thing you might want to check, the SD card, give it a little click in and out, and it should be just fine. You can always crack this back open and adjust it, but you just want to make sure that the SD card is accessible there, and it's 3D printed casing, so you may need, you know, if there's some leftovers there, you might need to scrape a little bit, but mine seems to be accessible just fine. Clicks in and out to place, no problem. Okay, so plug in the USB-C. Let's see if this bad boy still turns on. And would you look at that, it does indeed turn on, and not to mention, it retained the settings that we did before, and it's now fit for the right size screen. So we are now set up and we're ready to actually start using this thing. How the hell do you do that? We're going to do that next. Bitcoin Well is the best place to be buying and selling Bitcoin in Canada and the US. And now with Bitcoin Well Infinite, it's also the best place to be making large buys at their OTC desk of over $50,000. Their white glove service gives you fast transactions, no slippage, and the lowest fees. You can scan the QR code on the screen or simply head to bitcoinwell.com/BTC sessions to sign up today. And you can share your own personalized referral link to earn commissions. Curing your Bitcoin doesn't have to be complicated or invasive. With Nunchuck's Honey Badger plan, you get state-of-the-art multi-sig with built-in inheritance planning and no KYC required. Nunchuck is trusted by users to secure billions of dollars in Bitcoin. The Honey Badger plan offers 204 assisted multisig, guiding you step-by-step on mobile or desktop. It works seamlessly with hardware wallets like TapSigner, Coldcard, Jade, and plenty of others, so you're always in control. Plus, with non-KYC inheritance planning, you can ensure your Bitcoin goes to your loved ones. No private info needed. Take control of your Bitcoin today. Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen to check out the Honey Badger plan. Up first, let's acquaint ourselves with this device, aka all of the menus herein. So, navigating again with the arrows up, down, side to side, and selecting with the middle button. If we hit scan, what does that do? It opens up the camera so that you can scan QR codes like importing seeds. I want to go back arrow, and we're good to go. Let's go to the seeds section and select that. This allows you to scan a QR code that has a seed you've already created, enter 12 words or a 24-word seed, or create a new seed, which we'll be doing momentarily. To the back arrow and select it. We'll go down to tools, see what's there. We also can create a new seed from here using the camera. So basically taking a picture of our surroundings, and the randomness of what we take a picture of is used to help generate our seed. We can also use dice to create a seed. If we are randomly selecting words with using something like Entropia, which I've done a video on and I'll link down below, we can use this to calculate the final word of a seed phrase. If you don't understand what that means, check out the other video. It will be helpful. You can do an address explorer. So if you have a seed phrase, what addresses are yours? And then you can also verify an address. So you can scan an address and know if it is belonging to one of the seeds you have on this device. Going back out, let's just revisit settings really quick. We've got language selection, so there's a number of different languages available here. If you don't see your favorite one, maybe you could volunteer and contribute to translations for SeedSigner. We have our persistent settings. We've already used that. Coordinator software. So what wallets do you want to be able to see options for export for? Right now, it has selected Blue Wallet, Nunchuck, Sparrow, Spectre, with an option for Keeper, and there may be more added. I'm going to uncheck a couple that we won't be using today, but just so you know, Sparrow Wallet, great. We're going to be using that today. And then Nunchuck tends to be my go-to with mobile and being able to see this kind of stuff. So I'll maybe link to something you can check out for them as well down below. Let's go back out. Denomination display. This is, do you want to see in full Bitcoin, so decimals, or do you want to see in sats? Or is there a threshold where you want to see anything below that amount? We'll show you in sats or have a hybrid. You can choose. I'm a fan of sats, so I'm just going to go with that. And then we have our advanced, again, your network, mainnet, testnet. We're going to be using regular mainnet Bitcoin. You can set your density of QR code, like how minuscule are the squares in the QR code, or is it animated? All that stuff. You can export XPubs. Is that enabled? You can disable that option as well. If you want single-sig and multi-sig available, that's in the settings there as well. Address types, I'm just going to leave that as default. Showing your XPub details, all of this stuff. Adding passphrases, is that enabled? It is. Camera rotation, we already messed with. Compact SeedQRs. So this would have to do with the size of QR codes that you can scan. And then BIP85, we'll cover that later in the video. Electrum seeds, message signing, privacy warnings, all of these different things. QR brightness, partner logos on startup and hardware, display type, and we can invert the colors if we want. So a bunch of advanced settings there. I know there's a lot right there, but there's our general navigation. This is pretty much everything that you need in the device. And then, of course, the power button, you can tap that. And you can either restart or power off the device. We'll just go back to the home screen for now. And there's your navigation. So up next, we're going to create our first seed phrase. And we're going to see how to utilize it with the SeedSigner and Sparrow on our desktop. Okay, so we are going to create our first seed phrase, and we're going to use one of these SeedSigner cards. Again, you can print these from the website, and I will have a link in the show notes for where to print them if you don't get a kit like this. So let's go ahead. Let's go to seeds, and we'll select that. We're going to go down to the bottom, and we're going to say create a seed. Now it gives us different options. It just bumps us to tools, really. So we're going to say create a new seed. We're going to do it with the camera. So we're going to take a picture of our surroundings, which are unique, and based on the exact pixels that we pick up when we take the picture, it will give us some randomness to create a new wallet. So we'll select the camera. It opens the camera, and then we just, whatever we pointed at, we'll click the button to continue. So I'm going to get a bit of the soundboard here, and there. Okay. So we have now our image. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to accept. So if we go to the right, that accepts. How long do we want our seed phrase to be? I'll just do a 12-word one for right now. Now it says, this is very private information. Please be cautious. Don't share this with people. I understand. And then we're going to have 12 words. We're going to write those down on our seed card here. And so that's going to be the first thing we do. Once I'm done with these first 4, I will hit the middle button to go to the next one. If I need to go back, I go to the arrow in the top right and select it. So let's just write all these down. We'll be back in a moment. Once I get to the end and I hit next, it says, do you want to verify? And I will go ahead and do that. This is best practice to do. So verify. Word number 1 was wire. So that's already selected. I'll hit the middle button to select. None of these others apply. Word number 3 is report. So I would scroll down to report and select it. Word number 12 is option. I select that. Word number 6 is going to take me through a number of my words, and I'll verify each one of them out of order. With my backup verified, I can hit OK. And it gives me the fingerprint. This is a unique identifier of my seed phrase. Now on the card here, I'm going to note that up top under the fingerprint section. And I've noted that on the card. I'm going to hit done. And then I want to go to back up my seed, and I want to export this as a seed QR. And what this will give me is a way to simply with a Sharpie put dots in some of these empty squares so that my seed phrase is easily importable just by scanning the QR code here. So when I hit export as seed QR, we get to choose standard or compact. The ones that I have are the standard, okay? And it lets you know 25 by 25 or 21 by 21. So each one of these, I believe, is 5 and, 5 by 5. Okay, so 25 across, 25 down. So I'm going to choose standard. It says, I understand this is sensitive information, yet again. And this is what it looks like. And it says, begin your 25 by 25. I'm going to select that. And it shows me the top segment, the top square of my QR. Now that's already automatically filled in. So I can go to the next. And you can see the circles here, the dots. That's what I need to fill in on mine. Now this does not need to be absolute perfection. Yes, you want to get the dots in the right spot, but it doesn't need to be beautifully done or anything like that. So simply put, I'm going to dot out what I see here, and I'll show you what that looks like. And that's pretty much it. Now we're going to go through, I'm going to do this for the entire QR code, but as you can tell, it's not like I'm doing this beautifully. It's just a little dot in the appropriate square, and that's enough. It will indeed scan. Okay, so I'm going to go through. Again, I just use the arrows to navigate which square I'm in, and it lets me know A3, and there's a reference on here, A3, I'm on that square. I'm just going to dot the appropriate squares, and then we'll come back when I'm finished. All right, and with a little bit of work, we've gotten through the whole thing, and I can just click to exit. And then it says, do you want to confirm your seed QR code? I do. I want to scan it and make sure it is the same as what they've told me to write. So I'm going to tap, and it's going to allow me to scan the QR code on the desk. And it tells me now, success. You transcribed your CQR successfully and scanned, and it's the same seed. So that is great. I can hit OK. And everything is good to go. Basically, we've created our first seed from the device. We have a scannable QR code for when we want to use it. And we've also got the 12 words should the QR code not scan anymore. So now that we have what is effectively the keys to our money, we need to be able to see our wallet in order to utilize this. So how do we go about seeing this seed? I guess not the seed itself, but how do we go about seeing the balance and our wallet that is governed by this key? And we're going to be using Sparrow Wallet on desktop along with the SeedSigner so that we can tell Sparrow about our wallet without having to put our keys onto our computer. So we're going to check out how to do that next. So first up, in order to tell our computer or Sparrow Wallet about the new wallet we've just created, on the same screen, we want to choose to export our XPub. And XPub is also short for Extended Public Key, and it allows Sparrow Wallet to see all of the addresses, the Bitcoin addresses that belong to us, and thus be able to check our balance or add to it so we can send to addresses that we know without requiring the device after a single step. And so we're going to choose Export XPub. Just to recenter ourselves about where we are, let's just go back for a second in the main screen. We currently have just created a seed, and that seed right now resides on the device temporarily. Remember, this is a stateless device. As soon as we power it down, this information goes away. It's no longer stored here. But for right now, we haven't shut it down yet. If I go to seeds and select it, I see the seed that we just created. I can click on it. I can see the fingerprint. I can go and export information about it. And it also allows me to be able to approve transactions. And we'll see that in a little bit. But what happens if I go and maybe restart the device? Let's check. Okay, so with the device restarted, if I go to seeds, we don't have a seed. So we need to bring our information back into here so that we can utilize it, so that we can tell Sparrow about it, so that we can really do anything we need to do with our key. So we're going to go ahead. We could go and enter a 12-word seed and we could manually type all these words. That's a pain. I don't want to do that right now. Thus, the QR code that we just created, we're going to say scan a seed QR, put that on the desk and scan it. And it says, hey, this is a seed phrase. The fingerprint is 7AA859E0. That's the same one we've written down. And yeah, we absolutely want to use that. So we're going to hit done. And that seed is now on the device temporarily again. Okay. So we're in the seed and we're going to export the XPub. We're going to click on that. And this is going to be a regular single signature wallet. So one key for one wallet. And that allows us to spend if we have the one key. We'll choose that. And I'm just going to use the top option for this is what type of Bitcoin addresses it's using, known as what type of script it's using. We're just going to choose the default, the top native SegWit. And what type of wallet are we using? I remember I turned off a couple of them because I wasn't planning on using them. I'm going to choose Sparrow Wallet. Boom. It says, hey, this is private information. Just so you know, this XPub that we're exporting, it doesn't allow anybody to spend. It just allows us to check the balance and interact with the wallet and see it. I understand. And here's the details. Again, the fingerprint, derivation path, all this different stuff. And I'm going to, again, hit the button to export it. And I can brighten or darken the QR code. This is what Sparrow Wallet needs to see, this little animated QR code here. So let's take a look on Sparrow Wallet and see where we're going to scan in this information. Okay, so over here in Sparrow Wallet, I'm going to choose New Wallet, and I'm going to call this SeedSigner Test. And I'm going to choose Create Wallet. Now, this is going to be an air-gapped hardware wallet, meaning we're not plugging it in to the computer. We need to get the information to the computer somehow in another fashion, which will be the QR codes. So I'm going to click on this. It gives us a whole bunch of different options, but one of them is SeedSigner. And it has a little button beside it that says Scan. So we're going to scan exactly what was on the screen of our device by hitting this button and holding it up to our webcam. And there we go. All the information that we needed was encoded in that QR code. I'm just going to go and hit the blue button in the bottom right that says apply. I'm not going to add a password. This would just protect somebody from seeing my balance on my computer, but you can if you wish. We're going to hit no password there. And then all the menu items on the left turn blue. And we're just going to go up to the top left where it says transactions, click on it. And this just shows us any transactions we may have, how much we have in the wallet, any previous transactions that have happened. And that is it. We've now imported the relevant information into Sparrow. We're now able to receive transactions into the wallet that we created with our SeedSigner. And in order to spend from the wallet, you can't just do that with Sparrow Wallet. You're going to need the SeedSigner and the QR code that we transcribed. So let's start looking at how to actually receive and send transactions. All right, so as I said, you can interact with and view the balance of the wallet that you created with your SeedSigner from Sparrow Wallet without having to use your device or your QR code. You only require the device and the QR code when you want to spend. So let's take a look at just receiving some money into the account you created with your SeedSigner. And you can think of this kind of like if you had a digital safety deposit box and it had a little slot on the front, and you can slide in cash anytime that you want. And that would be here in Sparrow Wallet, the receive screen. This is kind of like your slot to slide in cash. But anytime you want to remove money from that digital safety deposit box, you need the key. And the key is what you created with that QR code and those 12 words. That's the key. So you need to use the key to unlock the money and take it back out. Okay. So again, just for navigation over here in Sparrow Wallet, you'll notice that I have an extra tab right now. That's because you can have multiple different wallets accessible in Sparrow. And our SeedSigner is what's known as a cold wallet, meaning that the key to unlock the money for this wallet is offline. It is in physical form as that QR code and sometimes accessible via our SeedSigner device if we load it in there. Whereas this other wallet, this tutorial wallet I have, this is a hot wallet, meaning the key to this wallet is just on the computer. I use this one often for tutorials and all types of demos. So I've got some funds in here that I'll be able to send over to the SeedSigner. Okay, so how do we receive into the keys that we created with the SeedSigner? So we're on the transaction tab right now. If we go down to the receive button, we are brought to this page and it gives us a Bitcoin address. We could copy and paste that, send it to anybody. There's also a QR code. Anybody could scan that and send money to it, including ourselves. And then the only other important thing here is a label. And so it's best practice to give your transactions a label so you know where it came from. Who knows that you have this? And so I'll just call this tutorial, and that should be good. Okay. So I've got a Bitcoin address here. I want to send to it. And again, I could, if I'm buying off an exchange, I could just copy and paste this into the exchange or give this to the person I'm purchasing directly from. Whatever the case, Bitcoin can be sent to this address. I'm going to jump over. I can click and copy that. I'm going to jump over to my tutorial wallet. I'm going to go to the send screen. And then I could paste in the Bitcoin address there. I could click on the camera icon and scan a Bitcoin address if I had one in front of the webcam. Or I could click this little drop down arrow and select any other open wallets that I have, one of which is SeedSigner. And so I can just select that. It'll pick an address that belongs to the SeedSigner. So I've done that. I'll give it a label. We'll just call it test. And how much do I want to send? I'm going to send over 100,000 sats. That's about $100. Now, again, this screen might look a little daunting to you. The long and the short of it is you can set your fee based on how fast you want the transaction to go through. It's just a little slider there. Gives us some more transaction information down below. Don't worry too much about this. You can learn about this in the Sparrow Wallet video that I did. And the most important note here is that Pretty much if you want to continue on, the next place you go usually is denoted by a blue button. That's typically where you want to go. When in doubt, click the blue button. I'll do that. Click, 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 and I will send that transaction off. So again, as a reminder, we're sending from this tutorial wallet into the SeedSigner. The SeedSigner is receiving some funds, or rather the account that can be unlocked with my SeedSigner keys that I just created. So I'll X out of that tab. We can see that my tutorial wallet has sent a transaction, but let's check our SeedSigner. The SeedSigner, if we go to transactions, shows that we now have a balance. We've received a transaction for 100,000 sats, and it is unconfirmed because currently roughly every 10 minutes, Bitcoin transactions are made final. We can also see a dollar-denominated value of what we received. And then the last part up top, it shows balance, and then it shows mempool. What does that mean? Our balance is the total amount of money that we have in terms of transactions that have just arrived and are yet to be confirmed, plus anything that we already had in our wallet. Since we didn't have anything before, we have 100,000 sats that is in waiting, that is not yet confirmed, and our total balance is also 100,000 sats. Either way, we have a balance in our wallet that is now secured by the keys that we created on the SeedSigner, and we will be able to send out from this wallet with the help of the SeedSigner. We'll see how to do that next. Okay, so sending a transaction and using our SeedSigner to do so. Now, the first thing that we need to do is, of course, make sure that our seed is loaded onto our device. We know how to do that. We saw how to do that previously by going to our seeds and then scanning or loading a seed with our QR code. So that part is already done, but we now need to say, how much do we want to send and where are we sending it to? And we do that all from Sparrow up until the last step when we need to officially approve it. So let's see that again. We're right now clicked on our SeedSigner wallet. I'm going to click send. Who am I going to pay to? I'm going to use this convenient drop down, and I'm going to send it back to my tutorial wallet. Otherwise, I could just paste in a Bitcoin address. Again, I'll just label the transaction as test. And how much am I going to send? Let's send the max amount, everything back. So everything back minus our transaction fee. And I'll just bump that a little bit. Okay. Blue buttons all the way through. Blue, blue. Now, you'll notice that this blue button is grayed out. Why? Because the keys to this wallet are not on the computer. They are in the form of a QR code that I've written down, in the form of 12 words that I've written down. And they're also currently on my SeedSigner because I scanned that information into it so that I can do things, so that I can approve transactions. So I'm going to do just that right now. So how do we tell the SeedSigner that we have a transaction we'd like to approve? Well, it's all done through QR codes, and there's two buttons. One says show QR, one says scan QR. We're going to show the QR. We're going to show this. So this QR code is the transaction that we want to do. It says we want to send this amount of Bitcoin to this address with this fee. And we need to scan it with the SeedSigner as long as the seed is on it. So let's take a look at how to do that. So here on the SeedSigner, all I'm going to do is I'm going to select this scan option. It will open up the camera, and I'm going to scan what was on the computer just now. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to hit that scan button. It opens up the camera. I'm going to now scan what's on the computer. Okay, so it basically says, what seed are you using to approve this? And so the seed that we had, the only one that we made, is this one, the 7AA one. I'm going to select that. And it says, hey, it looks like you're sending just shy of 100,000 sats to the following address. Does that look right? Let's review the details. It says, hey, this is a full spend. You're spending everything that you've got. Is that correct? Well, yeah, that's all good. 100,000 sats. $99,841 go to the recipient, 159 sats for the fee. There's no change with this. And I'm going to hit review recipients. It says you're sending this Bitcoin address. It conveniently highlights the beginning and the end of the address, so I can double check it with anything I have in front of me. If it looks good, I can hit next. And if I'm good to go, I can approve it. When I do that, it creates this animated QR code. And this is what Sparrow Wallet now needs to see. It's all of the information with a little signature that says, yes, this is allowed. I sign off on this transaction. So let's jump back to the computer and take a look at us scanning in our signature back to Sparrow Wallet. So I'm now going to hit scan QR, hold up the SeedSigner with the approval. And there we go. We can see this little bar fills in with a signature, and there's a blue button now that says broadcast. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll hit that, and off the transaction goes. It should send from the account that is secured by my SeedSigner and land in my tutorial wallet. Okay, and now we see our transactions being confirmed. Bunch of things going on. We got a confirmation on the original transactions. We also see the other transactions coming through. So let's X out of this tab. It creates a new tab every time you're working on a transaction. So our tutorial wallet, there's our incoming transaction. Our money is coming back. So it was sent successfully. If we go to the SeedSigner, click on transactions, there's us receiving the original amount, and there's us sending the amount back out. Now, one thing that is important to note is that any information that you see on a computer can always potentially be compromised. And so your device, your SeedSigner with your keys loaded onto it, is meant to be your beacon of truth. And so, for instance, if I hit receive here and I see a Bitcoin address and a QR code, can I verify that this address actually belongs to the keys, to the seed that I created? And the answer is yes. And so I've got a receive address up here on the screen. It ends with K7G, and we can see the beginning BC1 QTKP. Okay, so we've got a few digits in our head. We know what the address roughly is. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to verify that that belongs to me on my device. Let's see how to do that. So on my SeedSigner, I'm going to go down to Tools. Keep in mind, the seed that we are using is currently already loaded onto this device. If I go to Seeds, there it is right there. Okay. So I'm going to go to Tools, and I'm going to go to Verify Address. And it opens up the camera. I'm going to scan the address that's on the computer that I just showed you. And now that the address has been scanned, it says select a seed to verify. So if you had more than one seed loaded on, you could select which one do you want to check it belongs to. So I've only got the one. And it says success. This address does indeed belong to the seed that you've selected. So you can actually go through, you can verify an individual address before you even send to it if you want to. And again, don't take it for granted. Of course, your computer can have malware, can misrepresent things. So it's a good idea to verify addresses when you are sending. And just a side note, if you're having trouble scanning this small QR code, you can click on it. It will enlarge it for easier scanning, and that should give you a much simpler time trying to scan it with your SeedSigner.
If you've been around Bitcoin for more than a minute, you've definitely seen something made by CryptoCloaks. Since 2017, they've been the go-to for badass 3D printed Bitcoin gear, from custom home mining rigs to sleek hardware wallet mounts that make your setup look pro. I've been stacking Cloaks gear for years, and most recently I grabbed their Gamma case for my miner. Let me tell you, it turns some heads. You can customize everything, and of course, the legendary Bitcoin grenade, yeah, that's them. Hit the link in the show notes or scan the QR code to visit CryptoCloaks.com and stack your own custom Cloaks gear today.
Looking for a simple and secure way to manage your Bitcoin on mobile? Aqua Wallet has you covered. It's user-friendly and puts you in full control of your Bitcoin with secure self-custody. Aqua also supports Lightning and Liquid Network, making fast, cheap Bitcoin payments and asset transfers easier than ever. Plus, it even supports stablecoins, giving you ultimate flexibility. Built on open source code, Aqua is transparent, trustworthy, and perfect for beginner and pros alike. Ready to upgrade your Bitcoin experience? Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen now to download Aqua Wallet today. Debify is the best and easiest way to borrow against your Bitcoin in a non-custodial way. Funds are held in a multi-sig escrow where you hold a key, and the platform allows for excellent hardware like the Cold Card Mark IV and the Q. You have access to flexible conditions, the best rates, and institutional grade liquidity. If you're looking to make use of your capital, don't sell your Bitcoin, borrow against it. You can head over to debify.com to check them out, or simply scan the QR code on the screen. Now let's again review what we've just done. We used our SeedSigner to create a key that will secure our money. And that key was created entirely offline in a device that is not connected to a computer or any source of internet. Once we had that, we took that information and we made it physical. We put it in the form of 12 words and also in the form of a QR code. Both of those things are the same thing, just represented differently. The QR code for convenience to easily be able to put it where we want it. The SeedSigner does not retain that information. Every time we turn it off, it gets rid of any keys that you have so that they remain solely in the physical form that you use to record them. If you want to interact with the wallet, you need the backup that you've created. You can duplicate the backup that you created, the QR code and the words, and you can even separate those just in case one gets lost. You've always got a backup. Now, after that, we were able to take what's known as our XPub, our extended public key, and we were able to tell a piece of software on our computer about it, Sparrow Wallet. The XPub has all of the information to be able to see our Bitcoin addresses and check those addresses for balances, meaning that we can see the balance of our wallet. We can also add to the balance of our wallet. However, Sparrow Wallet by itself cannot spend. We need the keys that we created with the SeedSigner in order to approve them, but we use the SeedSigner to communicate with the computer. The key material is never shared with the computer. We just tell the SeedSigner about a transaction we want to do. We approve it on the SeedSigner, and the SeedSigner gives the information back to the computer, which contains what we want to do, but also a signature approving the transaction. We don't share the keys. We don't share any sensitive information with the computer, just a signature approving the exact transaction for the exact amount specified and nothing more to the specific address that we agreed to. And so we're able to then securely send a transaction, approve it offline with our keys, and then send it out to the Bitcoin network in a fashion that is air-gapped, meaning separated from any internet connection, other than Sparrow sitting on our computer, which never has the keys to our money and thus removes the risk of somebody remotely hacking our key material and being able to spend our money without our approval. This next section, we are going to be utilizing a passphrase. Now, a passphrase allows you to effectively add another layer of security onto your seed. The main issue when you create a seed and you have it kind of openly available in the form of a QR code or 12 words is that anybody who stumbles across that information now is able to spend your funds. They have the keys. Even if they just snap a picture of it, they have all the information they need to not only find the funds, but spend them. And so by adding a secret passphrase on top of it, it's kind of like adding a 13th word to your seed. It adds something that nobody even knows is there, and it creates an entirely separate wallet. And so in practice, what would happen is if somebody found your 12 words or your QR code and checked it, that wallet might just be fully empty and have never been used. And not until you add a passphrase, which can be any combination of letters, numbers, and symbols that you want, that will lead to the real wallet with actual funds in it and allow you to spend. This can be anything, and even if you put in something that is wrong, let's say your passphrase was Apple with a capital A, and somebody tried to enter the passphrase Apple without a capital A, it wouldn't inform them that they've entered the passphrase wrong. It would just take them to an entirely different wallet from yours. So any combination of letters and numbers will work and will go to a wallet. It just won't be yours unless it's put in exactly as originally typed. So we're going to test out using a passphrase with the seed we've already created. All right, so I've now restarted our SeedSigner. And as you can see, if I go to seeds and I select, there's no seeds currently on this device that it's aware of. And so I'm going to scan a seed QR right now, the one that we created already. Okay, so it now tells me, hey, this is your seed. This is the fingerprint of it. I can either choose done or I can do a BIP39 passphrase, which is what we're going to do. I'm going to go down to BIP39 passphrase and select it. This allows us to now type anything we want. So we've got our keyboard here. Again, we can go around and choose whatever letter. We also have buttons for uppercase and for numbers. So I can press that. It'll give me uppercase or lowercase. I can press this. It'll give me numbers or symbols or more symbols or numbers. So we can go between. We can type anything we want right here. So just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to choose A, B, C. And then once you're done, you're going to hit the check mark. So this now tells me, hey, this is the passphrase ABC. It shows me blank on the screen. And it says this changes the fingerprint. This is a whole different wallet now. It will, instead of being the fingerprint you've written down, it will create a new one that is different from your original, and it will be 239555953. That is the fingerprint. We can keep that for reference later. So I will just kind of make a mental note of that, but you could write it down so that you remember that's indeed the correct fingerprint. But I'm going to choose now done. And so what happens is my seed that was loaded is now this new seed, basically our 12 words plus the passphrase ABC. And if I back out, if I go to the home screen, if I go to seeds now, it shows that seed phrase with the basically this QR plus ABC. I can now utilize this however I want. I can do the same thing that I did with our regular seed phrase. I could export the XPub into Sparrow, and I can then send and receive transactions. Because this is a totally different wallet from our original one, this will have no pre-existing transactions. There will be no wallet history because it's never received a transaction before. Again, a totally different wallet. Now, I want to show how to access this. Again, make note of 239. That's the beginning of this fingerprint here. Let's go and discard the seed. We're going to discard it. It wipes it. So if I go into seeds now, there's no seeds on the device. Okay. So let's once again scan in our QR. So we'll scan in the seed we created. Again, it shows us the fingerprint. We know what wallet we're dealing with right now, but we can add a BIP39 passphrase. Let's select that. Okay, so we had ABC. Just for a second, let's see what happens if we say ABCD. ABCD. Okay, let's hit the check mark. Completely different wallet. See, it says 017 instead of 239 for the first 3 digits of the fingerprint. Totally different wallet just by that one little change, by adding a D to the end of our passphrase. So it's not telling us we're wrong. It's just saying, okay, this will point to this wallet, 017A 5F8A. That's not the wallet that we want, and we made note of that. Okay, so if we go and edit the passphrase and we use the button to remove the 1 digit that we added, and now we hit the check mark. Check it out, 239-559-53. That is the correct wallet. And so nobody would know they were wrong. Nobody would know that this even had a passphrase, but by adding the passphrase and hitting done, you now have effectively a hidden wallet. So if somebody stumbled across this or these words, they would not have enough information to access your wallet because it's hidden behind a passphrase. And if you want to utilize this with Sparrow, the only additional step other than adding a passphrase each time you scan your QR code would be that you would have to go choose the passphrase seed and export the XPub of this specific wallet as we did before via QR code and scan it into Sparrow as a new wallet. The old wallet is the old wallet. The old wallet is just this QR code by itself without a passphrase. The new wallet would be an entirely different thing, viewable in Sparrow if you decided to use a passphrase. Everything else functions the same. You can now send and receive transactions and approve them with your SeedSigner. In the following section, we are going to be covering something called multisig. Now, we've covered the concept of creating a key and using that key to unlock your funds, kind of like they're in a digital safety deposit box, and that key allows you to open it up and take cash back out. Same concept, but it requires multiple keys to unlock. So picture a safety deposit box, 3 keyholes, 3 keys. You require at least 2 of the keys to unlock it. That way, if you happen to lose a key, you still have 2 to access the funds. And furthermore, we touched on the idea that having a single key accessible means somebody potentially could find that key and access your funds. Whereas if you have a multisig, multiple keys, and you actually put them in different locations, maybe one you hold on to at home, maybe one's in a safety deposit box, one is with a family member, however you want to disperse them, they're just geographically dispersed. That means somebody getting a hold of a single key does not allow them to unlock and spend your funds. So we're going to see how to coordinate that with the device and Sparrow Wallet. Now, I've already gone ahead. I've created 2 additional keys, so I have a total of 3 keys. The process for creating those keys is exactly the same as you've already seen. So I just did it again and then again. So I've got 3 keys accessible to me. Now we're going to use the SeedSigner and Sparrow to use those 3 keys and create our special vault. So we're going to jump to the desk and get to work. Okay, here we are. We have our 3 keys and our SeedSigner device, which, by the way, is empty. There's no seeds currently on it. So I'll go back to the home screen. Here's the one we've just created. Here's another one that I've done for another SeedSigner video. Here's the third one, which actually I created with a different device, another do-it-yourself device called Crux. If you want to check that out, I'll have that in the show notes. But we have our 3 keys. What we're going to do is we're going to load all of these keys into the SeedSigner right now. So we'll do that. We can go to Seeds and then scan a seed QR. But to simplify, we can just hit scan, okay, just from the main screen. So I'm going to do that, scan the first one. And it says, hey, there's a seed. Do you want to import this one? I'm not going to add passphrases. I think when you're doing multisig, it's best to keep it simple. It's already complex enough. So I'm just going to hit done. So I've got a seed there. Great. If I go into seeds, there's my one seed. Great. So this one is already on the device. I'll leave it up here. Let's do number 2. We will scan. Okay, it looks like the fingerprint is the same. So I'm just going to hit done. Leave that up there and we'll go back and we'll do the final one right here. I will scan. It looks like the fingerprint again is good. I'll hit done and we'll go back. And so now if I go into seeds here, I can see I've got 3 ready to go on my device. Fantastic. So let's go back. We'll just leave this on the home screen. Let's jump over to Sparrow Wallet and begin the process of setting up a multisig and seeing what that's like. Okay, so I'm going to create a new wallet and we'll call it Seed Multi Test. That sounds good. I'm going to hit create wallet. And now we're going to do a change here to our settings for our wallet. It defaults to single signature. We're going to choose multi-signature. And then this is known as our quorum. How many keys do you have versus how many keys are required? So M of N, that it shows as 2 of 3. What that means is you need at least 2 keys out of a possible 3. If you want to change the number of keys in total and required, there are slider buttons. So you could change it to perhaps 3 of 5. That's another popular way of doing it. I'm going to keep it as 2 of 3 just to keep it nice and simple. And so now Sparrow needs to know about our keys. It needs our extended public keys as we've done before. And down below, we have, our air-gapped option for importing keys or importing public keys. But we also have 3 tabs here. We have 1, 2, 3, 1 for each key that's going to be part of this multisig. So we're going to export that information and let Sparrow Wallet know about it. So I'm going to jump over to the SeedSigner. We're going to export each one. So to do so, just as before, we're going to go to Seeds, but we now have 3. And we're going to select the first one. We're going to choose Export XPub, but this time we're going to choose Multisig. We'll use the same address type that we did before, and we're going to choose Sparrow Wallet. Hey, this is privacy. This is, privacy conscious. Just be careful. It generates the XPub, and we're going to export it as a QR code. And we'll scan this information into Sparrow. So let's jump over there. So once again, air-gapped hardware wallet. We look for the SeedSigner and scan, and we'll scan what's on our device. Beautiful. So that was seed number 1. And we can even, we can label the key if we want to. I'll just say 1, but we could even put in, it has the master fingerprint there already. But if we wanted to label it a special way, we could absolutely do that. Now we click on the tab for key store number 2, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab the next seed from our device. So let's jump back. So to get out of the animated QR code, just hit any button, go back to seeds. We'll select the next one that starts with 9.2. We're going to export the XPub. We'll choose Multisig. We'll leave it as the same address type, and we're using Sparrow Wallet. Privacy warning. Okay, has our details, and we're going to export it. There's our QR code. Let's jump back to Sparrow. Once again, air-gapped. Look for SeedSigner, and we'll scan what's on the device. Perfect. So that is our second one. I'll just give it a little 2 there if we want. And let's jump to the third tab. We're going to do the exact same thing. Click to get out of here. Go to our seeds, choose the third one, the one that starts with C2. and export the XPub. It's a multisig, same address type, Sparrow, privacy warning. There's the details, and there's our QR code. Jump back to Sparrow yet again for the final time, air gapped, go down to SeedSigner, scan what's on our device. Perfect. And I'll just give it a 3 there. There we go. So we've got our 3 keys allocated here. All that's left to do is hit the blue apply button in the bottom right. I'll leave this. I don't need a password for this one for right now. And then do you want to back up your multisig wallet? You can think of this kind of like a map to your digital vault. This is an important thing to save. I would save it, and I would maybe save it somewhere on an SD card or in cloud storage or something like that. Something that's going to keep it safe so that if this computer were to crash, you would still have a copy of it. I'll explain why later on. But for now, I'm going to save that PDF, and I'll just put it on my desktop. And we'll close it. Great. So everything's all set up. The side, all our options are blue. I'll hit transactions. We can see there's no previous history to this wallet. There's no previous transactions. We're going to fund it. So I'll open up my tutorial wallet. As we did before, I'm going to hit receive, and I'm going to send some Bitcoin to this wallet. And that's no different than what we've seen before. But we're going to see how to actually spend from the wallet in a moment. So I'll jump ahead to this wallet already having received some Bitcoin. All right, so our Multisig wallet has some money in it. And let's say we want to go ahead and spend. But this is different. It requires multiple keys. And at this point, it's very likely once you've set it up, you've taken the keys and you've put them in different places. That requires some traveling, some moving around from place to place. How do you go about doing that? And that's what we're doing right now. So first, we just need to tell Sparrow what we even want to do. How much do we want to send and where are we sending it? So I'm going to go to my Send tab. Where am I sending it to? I'll just send it back to my tutorial wallet as I did before. It pulls an address for me. I'll just call the transaction test for simplicity, and I'll send the full amount. And I'll adjust my fee a little bit. Okay, so I said what I want to do. Blue buttons all the way through, blue, blue. And this is where we need to get some approvals. Notice there's a signature bar. There's actually 2 separate bars, meaning we need 2 keys to approve this. As before, we're going to do it via QRs. So we're going to be able to scan QRs, but we need to do this one piece at a time, one signature at a time. We need 2 of the keys. So let's jump to the SeedSigner. Let's pretend we went to a location that has one of our keys, and we're going to import it to our SeedSigner right now. So here I am with the SeedSigner. I've got key number 1 here, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to scan it. Okay, so the key is scanned. I'm going to hit done. And now I'm just going to go back. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to hit the scan button and scan the transaction that we have in our Sparrow wallet. So let's jump over to the computer and get that transaction ready to go. Really simple here. We'll hit show QR, and this will be the same for both keys that we're going to end up using, but we're going to be scanning this with our SeedSigner. On the SeedSigner, I hit scan, and I'm going to scan what's on the computer right now. What signer do we want to use? Well, we only imported one, so we're going to choose that one. It says this is what you're doing. You're sending this much Bitcoin to this address. Here are the details about that. It's a full spend, 100,000 sats going out. There's your fee. The recipient is this Bitcoin address. Do you approve it? Yes, I do. There's my QR code. Let's jump back to our Sparrow wallet. Okay, so Sparrow wallet currently has the transaction here. There's a blue button that allows us to scan a QR code right now. So I'll hit scan. Got our device here. Okay, so what we see now is we have a signature from SeedSigner 1, the first key. So that key has given an approval. Now, this transaction is half done. We need another key. Now, feasibly at this point, what we would probably do is we'd need to move locations. And so there's a couple ways of doing this. This is a laptop here. So, I would probably take my key, my QR code, and I would put it back in its safe place. And I would turn off my SeedSigner so that information then went away, so that a single key stays in a single location and is never combined with another key, risking somebody getting their hands on two keys at once. Now, if this was on my laptop, I could just simply close my laptop and come back to it later. I also have the option of hitting Save Transaction, and this will save a little file. And I can actually import that file to any computer I want. So I could save that transaction. And I could stick it on my desktop, test, and just save it. Later on, I could go into any Sparrow wallet. Doesn't matter. I could say File. I could say Open Transaction. And I could choose a file. Let's go to the test one that I just saved. And it's right here. Now it knows that this is the same transaction I was working on. So it didn't open up a new tab, but it would have all the information that I need, and it knows that I just need another signature. So let's pretend whatever I chose to do, I'm now at the new location. I've got Sparrow Wallet loaded up, and I have a second key in front of me that I can now access. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to load that seed, and I'm going to approve this transaction. So I'm going to show a QR code, the same information about what I want to do. I want to spend Bitcoin to this address. Let's jump down to our SeedSigner. Okay, with the SeedSigner, I've got another key here, and I want to scan it. So I'm going to hit scan. I've imported it. I'm going to hit done. And I can actually, if I want, just as another example, I'm already on the seed. There's an option that says scan PSBT. That is partially signed Bitcoin transaction. I can click that. It'll open up my camera and I can scan what is on the computer right now, which I'm going to do. And once again, it gives me the same information that I got the first time I was giving a signature. This is how much you're sending, where to go, the details. Remember, this is a full spend, the total amount going out, the fee, and the recipient. There's the Bitcoin address. Do you approve it? Yes, I do. And there's my signature, my digital signature that I will now put in to Sparrow Wallet to complete my transaction. So in Sparrow Wallet, I can hit Scan QR and scan what is on my device. Perfect. And so what you're seeing on the screen now is I have two signatures, everything I need to approve and send the transaction. All that's left to do is hit that broadcast button, broadcast. Off it goes. Okay, we can X out of this tab. In the tutorial wallet, we see a transaction coming in. We go to our Multisig wallet. Under our transactions, we see earlier when we received, and we see the money going back out, which we've just executed now. So we've successfully been able to sign with two of our three keys, approve it with the SeedSigner, and send it through Sparrow Wallet. Now, I want to cover a little bit of nuance when it comes to that backup file of the multisig. Why do you need to have that? How is this different from a regular single-sig wallet? Well, when you have a single-sig wallet, a single key that governs a wallet, basically, I was referring to that file as the map to your funds, the map to your digital vault. Where in cyberspace is your money and your wallet and your digital vault, again, we'll say. Again, when you have a single key, the map is included in the single key. Some of the information from your private key, this QR code or these 12 words, that allows you to find the vault, and the key is the map. And so it's very simple. When you have multiple keys, what happens is little pieces of information from each key are used to create the map to your vault. Now, the map, once you put it on Sparrow, resides on your computer. That's all well and good. If you delete the file off your computer, you can reconstitute the map as long as you have your 3 keys. You can recreate it. So you can basically recreate it the exact same way that we did in the example. But in an instance where you delete the file off your computer or you get a new computer and you don't have all 3 keys, maybe you lost one, which we said is okay to do if you still have Sparrow Wallet with everything loaded up onto it, because you only need 2 keys to unlock the money. But if you don't have the map anymore, yeah, you have enough to unlock the vault, but you don't know where the vault is. And so while it's very unlikely that you would delete the file off your computer and simultaneously lose one of your keys, it is possible. And so when I said, hey, there's this file and it's the map, you can save it somewhere. You can put it on an SD card. You can put it in cloud storage because it doesn't give the ability to spend. It's just a backup of the map. And if if that scenario happens to you, you lose the map and you lose a key, you've got a backup of the map and you can unlock your vault with your 2 remaining keys. So again, the whole idea of this is you can lose lots of different things and still be okay. That's the whole point of a multisig. But it is a good idea to have just that backup file somewhere that you'll be able to retain it if, worse comes to worse and you lose 2 of the things that you needed. Let's talk about BIP85. What is it and why is it useful? Well, BIP85 allows you to take a single key. We'll call this our master key. And it allows you to generate what are known as child keys that are direct descendants of this master or this parent key. Up to 10,000 of them. And what is special about these child seed phrases is that at any point you can regenerate the same child seed phrases with nothing more than the master. How would this look in practice? Why would this be useful? Well, let's say that you have other wallets. Let's say you have hot wallets that you use on your phone for day-to-day spending, not for saving. Let's say you have family members that also need backups of wallets, and you're a little worried that they might start losing things. So you want them to have like a secondary backup through you, perhaps. This can be very useful because, as I said, you have a master and there are up to 10,000 child seeds that can be regenerated. And one of the qualities of these child seeds is you can always regenerate. You can always say, account number 1, give me those 12 words, and you can generate those 12 words. But if somebody gets a hold of those 12 words, there's no way for them to work backwards and compromise the master. It's one way only. And so in practice, let's say you have a wallet on your phone. Rather than creating a brand new seed phrase in that wallet, you could say, here's my master. Account number 1 is going to be my blue wallet. And you create the 12 words as a child seed. And instead of creating a new seed phrase in blue wallet, you import a wallet or you recover and you type in the 12 words. What that now means is you don't have to have a written 12 words for that wallet as well. If you delete the app off your phone and you go, oh no, I need to recover my funds, you just go back to the master and you say, account number 1 was blue wallet. Give me those 12 words again. This one backup becomes many backups for many different purposes. Your mom, maybe she has a hardware device and she has a backup seed phrase. She somehow loses both of those things. You go, don't worry. When we set it up, I actually used BIP85 to create your key. You were account number 2. We'll go back here. Account number 2, give me my mom's 12 seed words. It spits them out every single time. So very, very useful to do. Very, very useful and convenient. And so we're going to see how to use your seed that you've created with your SeedSigner and generate BIP85 child seeds from it. Okay, so we just need to turn on one setting before we utilize BIP85. And the way we do that, we're going to go to Settings. We're going to go down to Advanced, and we're going to scroll until we see BIP85 child seeds, and we'll hit Enabled. And since we've already said that our settings are persistent, this will be saved. So we'll always be able to access BIP85 from here on in. We won't need to change this again. So let's go back to the main screen and let's import a seed. So we'll scan this one that I have on the table here. Okay, and we'll hit done. So what we now have, and let's center ourselves again. We're on the home screen. We go to seeds. We select the one that we want to use. We now have an additional menu option, which says BIP85 child seed. We're going to hit that, and we can choose 12 or 24 words. We'll do 12 for now. And then we choose an index number. This is our 10,000 possible accounts. It actually starts from 0 and goes up to 9999. So for example, let's choose account 3. And we'll just leave it like that, and we'll hit the check mark here to select it. It says, okay, seed words are private. I understand. And it gives me my seed words. Starts with lecture. We'll just remember a few of these. Lecture, brush, celery. Okay. And then we can verify that, or we can skip. Let's skip it for now. Okay. And that's it. We had 12 seed words that were given to us. If I go back again, let's say I gave those seed words, or I used those to import them to Blue Wallet or to my mom's hardware device, or whatever purpose I had for them. If they get lost later and I want to come back, let's just discard the whole seed again. Discard it. We now have no seeds in here. It's empty. Okay. So if we want to get back to that seed phrase again, well, we're going to scan. We import the master that we had before. And then we're just going to go to BIP85 child seed, 12 words. And which account was it? It was account 3. And we'll hit the check mark. Let's see. Lecture, brush, celery. Same seed phrase. So we can regenerate it every time from the master anytime we want to recover. The same would be true if we did a different account. Like if we did 12 words from account 1, it'll give us copper, agent, February. Cool. Let's skip that. If I go back and I do it again, same thing. Even if I re-imported the seed, same thing. Go to seeds, select the seed, 12 words, account 1. What are our words? Copper, agent, February, same seed phrase. So we can always regenerate the exact same seed phrase for whatever purpose we had for it. And all the backup that we require is this one master seed. Excellent. So let's go over some pros and cons of the SeedSigner, as well as, again, who is this for? What is the use case? So first off, let's talk about the stateless nature of the SeedSigner. So the stateless nature, meaning that no seed or passphrase is permanently stored on the device. Once it's powered off, nothing remains. Now, this is a pro in that it keeps the device, basically, it's not meant to retain anything. So somebody getting a hold of the device means, well, there's nothing there for them to extract. And in terms of the other side of that, the con would be it could be inconvenient for frequent use. And when you do need to use it, you're pulling the seed phrase out or the QR code, the naked seed out to scan it. And so if you're just using just the main seed phrase with no additional passphrase or multisig or anything like that, then each time you go to pull out that kind of clear naked information, if there's cameras in the room, anything like that, you've got to make sure that you're pretty secure with it is the point. So again, kind of the tediousness of scanning it in, as well as the fact that there is, super sensitive information out in the open when you need to use it, is something that you should consider based on your use case. Now, in terms of the DIY aspect of it, of course, you're building it yourself, assuming you don't buy a pre-assembled one, which you can if you just want to kind of learn and test. But if you're pre-assembling it, obviously there's some extra steps to that as opposed to buying a pre-finished device. But that's also kind of the point, right? The point is being able to build a device from run-of-the-mill parts in the event that maybe you're not able to get a hardware wallet. Maybe you can't get one shipped to you where you are in the world. Maybe you're in a jurisdiction where it's illegal to have that kind of stuff. Maybe you're watching this in the future and, self-custody has been banned somewhere. So those are all possibilities. And so the point is to be able to have a hardware wallet, even if you're not allowed to. The con of being able to put stuff together is it's going to take more time, and you got to make sure you put it together right or tinker with it until it works. It comes with the territory, I would say. Now, the SeedSigner, of course, it does not have a secure element. A secure element meaning that would be a dedicated chip in which even with physical access to the device, you could not extract key material from it. And so because of that, that's what kind of protects a lot of hardware devices from tampering. Now, again, because the SeedSigner itself is stateless, it does remove all the key material, but there's some nuance to that and some considerations there as well. But yes, no secure element on the SeedSigner. Of course, it is QR air gap, so you never plug it into anything, and you just sign via QR codes. I find that to be very convenient, so pro there. Now, let's talk a little bit about the risks in and around the device itself if somebody gets physical access to it. And so there's a potential threat vector in something called an evil maid attack. Given that there's no secure element, there's a possibility that somebody could do something that would have the device retain some information after the fact, perhaps onto the SD card that is inserted. There are ways to mitigate this. And so when it comes to the SD card, they built in a feature where you can boot from the SD card. The software can just run on the RAM of the device, and you can remove the SD card while using it before importing a seed, so that if there was some sort of compromise that is meant to save sensitive information onto the SD card for somebody to come along and grab it later, the SD card wouldn't be there to retain it. So there's that. As I referred to the kind of naked seed before, just having something like this to access every single time you want to use your funds and send. Well, some mitigation techniques there we covered in the video. Adding a passphrase or perhaps using multisig can help with the seed factor, having it kind of plainly visible. Now, in terms of who is this for, and again, the pros and cons of scanning in seeds every time you want to spend, the best fit, in my opinion, for this is, as I said before, somebody that is kind of long-term savings and perhaps adding to their savings over time, but is seldom spending from them. And so what I mean is you could be adding without having to utilize the SeedSigner necessarily, and just have it imported to Sparrow or Nunchuck or whatever your interface is, and keep adding to your funds. And then only when you need to spend, which isn't often, you go and you access the key material, import it, and then use the SeedSigner to spend. For me, somebody that's doing something like that, it makes the most sense. Now, if you are a person that is constantly transacting from your cold storage using a device, you may be more inclined to use something that isn't stateless, that does retain a seed, that perhaps has a seed, a secure element, and retains that information and protects it with pins and stuff like that. Because I do transact regularly and I'm, using Bitcoin, living on Bitcoin, then I do have, I do have a device that doesn't allow me to do that. It's not as practical in that sense for me to be using something like the SeedSigner, but it's really going to depend on your unique use case and how you're utilizing Bitcoin. So again, for daily spenders and people that are utilizing their on-chain Bitcoin regularly, it may not be the ideal solution, but again, that's up to the individual. So overall, this is a very purpose-driven project in that it is here for the purpose of what if hardware is hard to come by and you want a fully open source, verifiable, replicable option that you can build from off-the-shelf parts that won't indicate that you even have a hardware security system for your Bitcoin. And that's kind of why SeedSigner is here. So I would love to hear from you what you think of SeedSigner. Again, as a recap, we did our assembly, we paired it to Sparrow wallet, we did single-sig wallets, we did passphrases, we did BIP85, we did multisig, we did a whole bunch of different stuff. And let me know how it all went for you and what you're curious to see, what you might like to see in the future, and how this stacks up against other devices that you may have used. I'll take a look for you down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, please do like, subscribe, share, all those things, super important. And if you need some additional help in your Bitcoin learning journey, be sure to, of course, subscribe to the channel. But if you need a one-stop shop, head over to btcsessions.ca/learn, where you'll find a whole bunch of useful videos on every level of Bitcoin learning, as well as playlists to dive deeper on those topics. And if you need a one-on-one touch, reach out to myself and my team at Bitcoin Mentor to book one-on-one education premium sessions. With that, I'm out. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening. Keep stacking sats, but also keep stacking skills. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. This was your daily session.